Well, hello and welcome to Producer Dan. I'm Dan. Welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to do something a little different. Today I wanted to make a book recommendation, a book that has helped me with my lyric writing. Sometimes lyric writing can be a little daunting, a little intimidating. Sometimes when we sit down to write something, we're stuck and we don't know where to begin. So this is where a book like this can come in handy. It did for me anyway, so I'd love to just tell you about it. It's called Bird by Bird, Some Instructions on Writing and Life by Anne Lamott. Of course, it's a regular book, but I do recommend the audiobook form. It's narrated by Susan Bennett, who really has Anne Lamott's dry sense of humor down. So Anne Lamott is a successful author. Her dad was also an author when she was growing up. Obviously, her dad was a huge influence on her. And she also learned from him that being an author kind of gave you a reason to travel and to experience things and to be an observer and to notice things and also to kind of be public without being public. As an author, you could write something, you can be out there in the world, but not really having to be out there in the world. So, which I think appealed to her. She describes her home life growing up as just being surrounded by books all the time. The family would go to the library every Thursday to exchange their library books for the week. She was a very awkward child. She described her looks as kind of odd, I guess, and so humor was her savior in high school. She was the storyteller of her class, the person that people would look to for stories or to kind of narrate the day. First of all, she's an author of both fiction and nonfiction. She does a lot of memoirs. She also does writing workshops. She teaches. And so this is a very good book for anyone who's writing anything, really. And she's a novelist, but her techniques, I find, apply to songwriting as well. Or really any art form where you have to be creative. She explains to her students how to get started, because that's one of the first things that people ask her. She'll literally pick up her notepad and her pen and just do this. Basically, if you want to be a good writer, if you want to understand writing, you have to just start writing. It really doesn't matter where you begin. The point is that you begin. One of her first techniques is small assignments, breaking everything down to the very smallest subject and starting from there. She has a 1-inch picture frame on her desk to remind her of small assignments and how to start there. And it really works. It really gets the ball rolling. In this book, she gives an example of what she tells her students to do. She'll just say, start with school lunches, write down everything that comes to mind to you when you think of school lunches. Go. And so they do, and they write 4 to 6 pages of whatever comes to mind. And in the book, she also gives her example of school lunches. And she goes on to describe how her dad used to pack her lunches. In her day, people brought lunches to school, and then they would trade with other kids. And when her dad packed her lunches, no one really wanted what he made. He used to put butter on the sandwiches and use kind of wilted lettuce, and so that was part of her experience. She describes the playground and the kids in the playground and the kid against the fence who didn't talk to anybody, and the family in the parking lot. And so at the end of her description, she basically said, this is basically all just throwaway stuff. After doing something like this, if you're lucky, you can read it over and there might be one paragraph with some life or some color or some interest. And in this example, the kid against the fence was the one that she wanted to explore. Who was he, and how she would use him in her next novel, this interesting character out of all of that. And it came from the small subject, the small assignment of school lunches. So a lot of people will say, you can't wait for inspiration to hit. You have to start. And And in doing that, then you'll come up with your ideas. Then you'll come up with those little nuggets. But you don't get them unless you start. So her next point, and really the other point that I wanted to make from this book, was the subject of shitty first drafts. The importance of the shitty first draft. Every author that she knows sits down and writes these shitty first drafts and the shitty second drafts or third drafts, however many it takes. But you have to write with the flow. You have to write without second guessing. For example, when I'm writing a song, I will tend to stop and say, no, I can't. That's no good. That's cliche. I have to think of something else. But that stops the creative process. That stops you in your tracks, you're second guessing, you're self-doubting. The thing to do is to keep going and just write that shitty first draft. And then go back in and edit, change things, throw the whole thing out, or find that nugget of interest or that jumping off point from what it is that you're writing. And I try and remember that every time I sit down to write something. Give myself permission to write absolute nonsense. Whatever comes to mind, no one's going to see it. Don't be afraid. Rip it up when you're done. But write something and then look for nuggets of gold in whatever it is that you've written. Anyway, it's a super book. I recommend the audiobook. This video is not sponsored by anyone. Anyway, thank you very much for stopping by the channel, and I do look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.